It is 9 o'clock my time. I think we are all across the world, really in different time zones, but I'd like to introduce myself. So my name is Allie. I'm a doctor of physical therapy and a nationally certified Pilates instructor. I'm here today to bring you guys a program on back pain, a 30-minute program on back pain. So I've been teaching here in the Boston area for the last 5 years, and I've been able to teach with the Community Online Academy for the last 12 weeks. So before we get started with our actual class today, I want to emphasize a couple things. First is that we always leave time for questions at the end, so just a couple of minutes, but if at any point during this class you have a question, if it's a technical question, send it to Key. If it's a question about back pain, put it in the chat and I will read through them all at the end and try and answer most of your questions. The second thing I like to highlight is that this class is for you, and I want you to get the most out of this program that you can. And the way that you'll do that is truly by listening to your body and being honest with yourself. So if something doesn't feel right, or there's a certain exercise that you feel is uncomfortable for your body, I'd like you to take a modification or take a little rest from that. I offer a ton of options, so I'm pretty confident that you guys will be able to find a modification that works for your body. So please don't hesitate to take that. That is how you will get the most out of this class. So with that being said, we're going to start down on our backs, lying in a comfortable position with your knees bent. And if you want to have a pillow for your head, you can go ahead and grab that here. I'm going to join you guys back on the mat. We'll scoot forward a little bit. All right. So once you're down on the mat, allow your body to just relax and melt down for a moment. I think for many of us, like I said, this is the end of our day. So take a moment and just settle in and get connected to how your body feels on the mat today. Let your head hang heavy. Feel the weight underneath your 2 feet. Feel the weight underneath your hips. And just notice maybe differences that you feel from side to side or any spots of tension. And for now, just notice them. There's no right or wrong. And as you're lying here, just letting your body relax a little bit, we're going to start to tune our attention into our breath. And if you've taken my class before, we always start with breathing, but we're going to do a little stronger emphasis on breath today, because I want to teach you guys a couple techniques that you can use with your breathing that will actually make your core a little bit stronger by just breathing. So with that technique, what you're going to practice just lying here on the mat is breathing in through your nose and then breathing out through your mouth. But when you breathe out through your mouth, through pursed lips. And what pursed lips means, you can imagine like I put a straw in your mouth, you're trying to breathe out through that straw. Or imagine you have some birthday candles in front of you, you're trying to blow out those birthday candles. So it's not forceful, but it is somewhat of a, you're sending the air out of your lungs a little bit faster than you might normally with just passive breath. And I'd like you to try this breath pattern, keeping your hands on your rib cage, and just notice and see if you can feel some movement in your spine and in your ribs as you do this breathing pattern. So again, it's inhaling in through your nose and exhaling out through your mouth. Hopefully you can start to feel that as you do that type of exhale breathing, that you feel some of the core muscles deeper in your spine start to tighten up and start to work. So now we're going to tie that in with a little bit of movement, a pelvic tilt. What that looks like is gently rocking your spine front to back. So if you could imagine the space underneath your low back, you're closing that space and then opening the space. And it's very gentle. And if this is the first moving you've done in a while, it's probably going to be a little bit stiff, and that's fine. Just work within what's comfortable for your back. But we're going to try and tie together this movement with our breath. So when you open the space under your low back, take an inhale. When you close the space under your low back, you're going to exhale. So you can go slow at first. Inhale, opening the back. Exhale, close the back. Inhale to open. and exhale to close. Nice and easy. Inhale, open, and exhale, close. So I hear all the time in my Pilates classes, people want to hold their breath when they're doing abdominal exercises. This is one of the first ways to get started to practice being able to breathe while you use your core. So we'll do one more time, just like that. And last time here, good. And then we're gonna rinse it out. Go ahead and walk your feet together, knees together. Allow your arms to rest out to the side. And very gently, I'm gonna come up and make sure you guys can still see me here. Let's go ahead. Is that okay? I see a screen share here.
I'm trying to figure out how to stop that.
There we go.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep, no problem. So is everybody okay? You're back to my video here? Okay, all right, great. So we're very gently rocking our knees side to side. So arms are wide out, and you're only gonna let your knees go as far as you can without feeling any discomfort or stress in your back. And so that might be different from one side to the other, and that's fine. The point of this is just to very gently introduce some rotation into our spine. You can breathe in any pattern that's comfortable here. I promise we're gonna get back to that breath pattern in just a moment. We'll try 3 more. And last 2. And 1 more time here. Excellent. Okay, so from here, walk your feet in nice and close towards your bottom so that you can tap your heels with your fingertips. And we're gonna lift into a bridge. And if you've done my class before, you've done bridging with me before, the point of a bridge is to strengthen your glutes, your hip muscles. And we focus on that because our hip muscles support our spine when we do squatting, when we bend over, and certainly when we lift things. So what we'll do is reach our arms down, press our hands into the floor, lift our hips up to the ceiling, and hold. Now, like I said, this is an exercise for our glutes. If you're not sure, check and make sure your glutes are working. If you feel pressure in your low back, soften the front of your ribs, but we're just gonna work to hold this today. And I want you guys to practice doing that breath pattern in your bridge. So again, inhaling in through your nose and exhaling out through your mouth. And see, as you lie here, or rather hold this bridge position, how that changes the muscle recruitment around your core and in your glutes. So we'll try just 2 more breaths like this. Big inhale in through the nose, exhaling out through your mouth. And 1 more time, big inhale in through your nose and exhale out through your mouth. Drop your hips down and take a little rest. Now we're gonna try 1 more variation on bridging, which is a progression. So if bridging felt really challenging for you, I want you to do just that, the holds that we just practiced. But if you feel like giving yourself a little challenge, we're gonna set up once again, hold that bridge, soften the front of your rib cage down, and this time rest your hands on the tops of your hips. So you can feel that the height of your hips is the same. All we're gonna do is alternate lifting one heel and then the other. And the point of this is to create kind of a lifting movement, just like our legs do when we walk. And the goal is to try and keep our spine and therefore our hips nice and still as we alternate lifting one side and then the other. And I think this can always be surprisingly kind of hard, and you may find especially on one side more than the other. So slow it down a little bit if you need to. You can always go back to just that hold, but continue to use that breath pattern here. Inhaling in through the nose, exhaling out through the mouth. Good. We'll try 3 more and 2 more. And last time each side, and drop your hips down, take a rest. Excellent, guys. So we're now going to work into a strengthening exercise for our core. And this strengthening exercise is going to feel really gentle. And part of the reason of that is that we have muscles in our core that support our spine all day long. So when they're working, we don't feel it a lot because they are working at a low level all day long. those are the muscles we're going to try and target right now. So it should feel gentle. It should feel relatively smooth and easy. So what it looks like is we're going to rest our hands on the top of our hips. Very slowly, you're going to drop one leg out to the side at a time. And you're only lowering that leg as far as you can go without moving your hips. So another way to imagine this is that I have a tray of really full waters and it's resting on my stomach. And I want to be able to move my legs without spilling even a drop of water. I'm actually going to turn so you guys can see about how far my legs are going. Now, I actually don't care how far my legs go because I'm focused on how still I can keep my spine. So even if I can only move my leg a few inches, those core muscles that stabilize my spine are working to keep it still. Okay, so we'll try about 3 more like that. And a little trick here is that you can use that exhale breath pattern if you're having a really hard time keeping your hips still to make yourself stronger in this position. So give that a try. And you'll feel that your hips, hopefully, don't move quite as much. Good. So we'll settle somewhere right in the middle. Now, while we're in this position, we are going to actually give a little stretch to our hips. So what we'll do is take our left ankle on top of our right thigh. Now, this might already feel like a stretch for the outside of your left hip. And if it does, you just stay like this. If you want to deepen that stretch, you're going to reach behind your right thigh, pulling your knee in towards your chest and feeling that gentle stretch here. Now, it shouldn't feel like stress or strain. And I always like to highlight in this stretch that there's sometimes a tendency to pull your hips off the mat. I actually want you to envision your tailbone being on the mat and keeping it on the mat. That's actually going to deepen the stretch in your hip, but protect your spine by keeping your spine long. And the reason we're stretching our hips is because, as you can see, our hips move so closely with the way our spine moves. And so the more flexible our hips are, the less stress our spine feels. We're going to go ahead and switch to the other side. So now cross your right ankle on top of your left thigh. You can keep your right hip as it is, but if you want to deepen the stretch, you can grab the back of your left thigh and gently pull it in towards your chest. And again, you're just pulling in enough so that you feel a stretch, but your tailbone is still down on the mat. So you're not curling your spine, you're keeping your tailbone down. It's still very gently pulling that left knee in until you feel a gentle stretch on the outside of your right hip. And notice if you're holding your breath here, sometimes when we get into a more intense stretch, our body protects ourselves by holding our breath. So just let it be natural, breathe. We'll try one more deep breath here. And then stretch our legs out long. So I mentioned that our core has 2 functions, one of which was to keep our spine still. The other is to be able to move our spine. So we're going to try that now by sitting up from a lying down position. If you know this is too much for your back, go ahead and push yourself up to sitting now. For those of you who want to give this a try, you're going to reach your arms long overhead and then slowly roll yourself all the way up to sitting. Nice job. Okay, so from here, we're going to bend our knees, planting our feet flat on the mat, bringing our knees together, feet together, and our hands behind our thighs. I would say my knees are bent about 90 degrees. And if this feels really tight for you, you can always back up a little bit to have a bigger bend in your knees. I'm sorry, a lesser bend in your knees. So from this position, I'm holding behind my thighs. I'm actually going to lift my spine up nice and tall. Now we're going to create some movement in our low spine by gently rocking back and lifting the spine tall. Rocking back and lifting the spine tall. If you feel pinching in the front of your hips with this motion, hug your inner thighs together as though there's something important between your knees. We'll go for 3 more just like this. And then we're going to try and add on to this movement. Last 2. On this last time, roll partway back And then imagine the space between your ribs and hips getting smaller by just a little bit. So you're slowly closing that space between your ribs and hips. Now, without moving your chest, can you let go with your hands? Now you have the option, you can just stay like this. Otherwise, you're gonna start to slowly reach one arm out to the side and back to the center. So again, I'm gonna turn. You may see some parallels with this exercise to the bent knee dropout we just did. So what you're trying to do is move your arm, but not move your chest or your knees. So watching from the front, everything is still except my left arm moving. We'll try 2 more. And 1 more time, sit up and take a little rest. Now that exercise, again, I don't really care how far your arm moves because it's all about how still you're able to keep your spine. So we're gonna set up for the second side now, hands behind the thighs, roll partway back, and I'll show you from the side this time that our spine position is static. So we let go with our hands and now start to move that right arm out to the side. What does this look like in real life? This would be a movement such as reaching to a high shelf and grabbing a heavy grocery bag with just one arm. So a unilateral type of movement. And basically we're looking at how strong and stable is your spine when you do a movement like that. We'll try 2 more. And 1 more time. And again, reach up and over. You can let your chest rest down on your thighs and try and breathe into the backside of your body, feeling a gentle stretch in your lower spine. Good. So from here, we'll flip on over to an all fours position. So hands are directly underneath your shoulders, knees are directly underneath your hips. If you have knee sensitivity, it's a great place to bring that pillow, add it underneath your knees. If you have any wrist sensitivity, you can lower down onto your forearms. So just find that comfortable setup. And once we're here, we're gonna create some movement in our spine by finding a gentle cat-cow. So rounding our spine, letting our head hang, and then dropping our spine, finding a gentle arch or extension. And this is within your spine's comfortable range of motion, which is likely different than my spine and your neighbor's spine. So just comfortably work within your body, exploring those 2 extremes. We're gonna do 2 more just like this, and then settle somewhere right in the middle. What we're gonna practice next is a little balance. And so if that feels like too much, you can always come back to this position, but slowly reach your right leg back behind you. Now you may have shifted a lot of your body weight to the left when you lifted your right leg. Can you center yourself so that your navel points down to the floor and your right leg is really reaching long back behind you? Now you have the option to just hold this balance, but if you want to add on a little bit more, you're going to start to reach the right leg out to the right and back to the center. So you might imagine here that your right leg is sweeping off a coffee table that's full of things. We're just cleaning it off by sweeping our right leg back and forth. What I want you to feel is that your hips are not also swaying. So this is that same idea of being able to move our legs without moving our trunk. And in real life, this would look like stepping to the side quickly or lifting one leg up on an uneven surface relative to the rest of your body. 2 more. And 1 more time, bend it down. You guys can sit up, shake out your wrists, shake out your hands for a moment. And then we'll set up, we'll go back to the second side. So when you're ready, line up once again, hands under the shoulders, knees under your hips. This time we extend the left leg long back behind you. Find your center by shifting your body weight back to the left. Grow long through the top of your head. Reach that left leg really, really long. And then you can start to kick the left leg out to the side and back in if that feels comfortable for you here. And you're only reaching it out so far as you can keep the rest of your body still. You want to keep your left leg up at the height of your left hip. 4 more. Soft bend in your elbows for 3, 2, and last time, lower that leg down. This time we're actually going to go right down onto our stomach. So you can lower all the way down onto the mat and line up your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Now, if when you lie down, you feel pressure in your back, go ahead and add a pillow underneath your hip. So that's fine, and that's normal to feel a little bit tight in this position. So what we'll do next is keeping the hands flat on the mat, start to curl and lift your spine up 1 vertebrae at a time. And you might only be able to lift your upper back. Maybe you can lift and press all the way into your low back. Whatever feels comfortable for you, work within your spine's range of motion. But one reminder I want to give about this stretch is that this is not just for your low back, but also for your upper back. So think of pulling your shoulder blades back, shining your heart forward, keeping your head up tall, and gently rolling down. And we do this stretch because this is a position of extension. So when we sit all day long, we are mostly flexed, and our spine can get quite tight or used to flexion rather, and tight in this extension position. This is a great way to maintain flexibility of our spine by just doing this little simple stretch here. We'll try 2 more, just like this, and gently lowering down. And 1 more time here, lower all the way down. And then go ahead and lift your spine up and press back to round into your shell stretch position. And in this position, if it feels good for your body, you can let your forehead rest down on the mat, really walk your fingertips forward, feel a nice stretch into your lower back. I want you to try a couple of those breaths here. So big inhale in through your nose, exhale out through your mouth. So we'll help to make this stretch a little bit more active. Try 2 more big breaths like that. Big inhale in through your nose and exhale out through your mouth. We'll try 1 more big breath here. Big inhale in through the nose and exhale out through the mouth. Now from this position, we're going to stay low, but walk both hands over to the right side of the mat. From here, you'll feel a stretch through the left side of your body, and it's actually your lat muscle that we're stretching. And your lat muscle is often thought of as a shoulder muscle, but it actually attaches all the way down onto our lumbar spine. So feeling tight here is not uncommon, but it will also help you as you work on flexibility to maintain flexibility of your spine. So we're now going to walk our hands up and over to the other side of the mat. So our hands to the left and stretch the right side of your lat and your spine. And again, just breathe here. Maybe walk your hands an inch or 2 farther. Good. And then very gently come on up. So our next part of class, we're going to work on some standing postures. So when you guys are ready, you can go ahead and come up to a standing position. And I'm just going to briefly adjust my camera here. Okay. So I know this can sound silly, but what we're actually going to work on is how to stand. What is the best way if you have to stand for a period of time to protect your back? And let me just make sure. Okay, so how can you stand to protect your spine? And I hear a lot of times when people say they have to stand for work all day, that their low back is sore by the end of the day. So we're going to work on that a little bit. My feet are going to be underneath our hips. And one of the most common misconceptions is people think their hips are the widest part of their legs. Your hip joint is actually from your femur bone, and it's really right on the inside of your pelvis. And so your hip joint is quite a bit narrower than the outside of your legs. So when you feel that your feet are right underneath your hips, they're probably a bit narrower than you think. but that is our most stable position. That's where all of our bones really line up. So that's step one. Step two is going to be to find our alignment from the side. So I'm going to show you guys here that we want the big bone of the outside of our hips to be right over our ankles. So let's practice first by rocking our body weight forward and then rocking our body weight backwards. So you can rock your hips in front of your ankles, rock your hips behind your ankles, and then try and settle in the position where the bony part of your hip is right over your ankles. The next step is our shoulders, and our shoulders should also be right over our hips and our ankles. So now try and bend your shoulders forward, bend your shoulders backwards a little bit, and try and find that center where your shoulders are right over your hips. Our last step is finding our ears right over our shoulders. So you can stick your head forward, you can tip your head backwards. You want to find the position where your ears fall right on top of your shoulders. And once you're in that position, I want you guys to imagine pushing your feet down into the floor and then lifting your rib cage up off your hips. So what that does is it creates space in our spine by pushing down and pulling up. And I like to call this active standing. This isn't just, oh, I'm standing texting on my phone. We're actually working to pull the ribs up and push the feet down. So once you're in this setup, you should feel kind of strong, kind of powerful, and hopefully your back feels supported. Now, the last step is to add in that breathing. So inhaling in through your nose and exhaling out through your mouth. And just feel how that adds to the stability of this position. Inhaling in through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth. So I want you guys to try that for a couple more repetitions. Really get grounded, continue to think of length through the top of your head and pressure of your feet into the floor like you're gonna leave a footprint. I'm gonna come take a quick peek at people's form to see if there's a way that we can adjust. You guys look great. One common thing I see is that people tend to hyperextend or lock their knees. Keep a very gentle, soft bend in your knees. Beautiful, nice control here. Excellent. We'll try one more deep breath just like that. Good. And then we're going to finish out class with just a little bit of sideways spine movement. And this is just fun. This is just to shake it out. And then we'll go over any questions that you guys have. So for our sideways spine movement, you're just going to alternate stretching one arm overhead, side to side. You can let your arm hang down by your side or hands on your hips, whatever is comfortable for you here. Reaching up and over, just gently opening the side ribs as though you are opening and closing an accordion. We'll try two more. And last time. Good. All right, guys. So what I hope you take from our discussion about active standing today, while it's not the hardest exercise you've ever done, I hope you can start to think about your alignment and how you can better set up your spine throughout your day. I know a lot of us are standing in some lines right now, especially long lines to go in and out of stores. It's a great opportunity to practice building up some of that postural endurance. And like I said, our core, it has two functions, and one of those functions is just to keep our spine still. And so you can practice that just with active standing, and no one will even know you're doing an exercise, but you're making the most out of your day. And if you guys are someone who is able to stand for part of your workday, that's a great chance to set up your spine in a really safe, comfortable way, standing for your workday.